All right. Hello again, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Jonathan.
Nick.
This is Nick, and we are the Gosslings. So I guess this would be episode 2, of our hopefully theoretically weekly stream. That's kind of the aim, but we're Gosses, so we set the bar low for ourselves.
Very low. Very low.
Yeah, it just if you have lowered expectations, then it's much easier to. It's that under promise.
Limbo world champion low.
That's right.
That's where the bar is.
Yeah. If I could just slide my shoes under it, then yeah, we're good. I guess
Absolutely.
Although with technically, if it were limbo, it would be can we have it the height of the house so I could just walk right under it?
Nephilim limbo.
Yeah, Nephilim limbo. Yeah,
Nephilim
exactly.
limbo.
There you go. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we get together every week anyway.
Yeah.
So we've been doing this for 2 years, and we should have been recording it the whole time.
Yeah, we really should have. That really was a mistake and a lack of foresight on my part. Talk about paying the price for your lack of vision, because we've explored some really interesting topics. We've talked about some weird stuff. We've come up with some cool ideas. It really is. If you want to learn from our mistake, if you get together with people, man, record it, because you never know what cool thing is going to come out of the ether. And then if it's not recorded and it's not retained, then what's going to go back into the ether?
Well, I think I need to correct you on that. I wouldn't say it's lack of vision so much as lack of just commitment and follow through. I think the vision is there. If you know anything about his books, I think he has a huge vision. But as far as, just kind of facing the music and putting your face online and doing something like this.
Yeah.
And it's not hard, but it feels like it's super hard and
it's intimidating.
There's a lot of resistance to actually hit, live or record or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's we should have been doing it a long time ago. It's just
well, it's not a natural,
more nerves than anything else.
Well, it's not a natural thought process when you're, for a lot of writers, we're introverts. So by nature, it's introverts unite, and when do we want it? Tomorrow.
Don't trust a writer who's not an introvert. They're being totally disingenuous.
Yeah, I've never known anybody who was really extroverted and was and I write stuff. I'm like, oh, you do, huh?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Whatever. You write a webcomic?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say. An introvert that writes pretty much makes comic books.
Yeah. You write, Marvel fan fiction. Okay. Or whatever. Well. But fine, if that's what you're into.
Hey, good on you.
Whatever. I ain't gonna buy it, but somebody will. More people will buy that than will buy my crap. So maybe you're onto something.
Extroverts are weak, shallow, useless human beings that know nothing of the soul and the deeper things of life.
They're just lily pads floating along the stream of life, not deep in the current of logos.
Curse them for the piles of money that they sleep on.
That's right. Yeah, the success and happiness that they have. See, yeah.
What does that have to do with writing?
Yeah, who needs that? See, writing is born out of pain and self-loathing and misery.
Absolutely.
So it's
absolutely.
It's you got to be a little bit of a Robert Smith, in order to really.
True writers are introverts that have a gun in their mouth at least once a week.
At least once a week, yeah.
If they can afford one.
Well,
extroverts can afford the gun and probably have it, but they don't have to. Yeah, it's.
Well, the introverts, the truly disciplined.
Get banned for saying that.
Maybe, I don't know. It would be funny if we could got deplatformed on the second episode. The short-lived life of the Gosslings.
My fault.
Yeah. For once, I'm not the one who gets us in trouble
in my big mouth.
No, the funny thing, and the truly disciplined introvert not only has a gun in his mouth once a week, but does it at the same day and time. Just sets an alarm, this is when I'm supposed to go. Sit in the closet.
If I thought anyone was ever going to be watching this, I'd be preparing myself for the backlash of hateful comments. But
whatever.
I'm really not worried.
No,
it ain't gonna happen.
I don't think either one of us are worried. Well. So, okay, on to happier topics, or at least less controversial topics. We'll dovetail pretty hard right into something that we were talking about earlier. Yesterday was Halloween, and I was hanging out at Nick's place.
Yes.
And we were, doing the Halloween thing with the kids and the fire and everything.
Yep.
And you told me, in true like spirit of the season, you told me a really cool story about Henry Half Moon.
Yes.
First, tell people about. I don't know if we talked. Give people a brief rundown of Henry Half Moon.
Henry Half Moon is a young adult novel. It's paranormal urban fantasy. So there's a lot of afterlife elements in it. Henry Half Moon is the name of the main character. And so that's the background. And the whole story of Henry Half Moon takes place in Manhattan. Henry is a college student at NYU that is starting to have all of these strange paranormal experiences. And so every scene in the book takes place in Manhattan.
Yeah.
So Henry Half Moon, he's in Manhattan. Okay, that's the setup.
And it's got some cool, it's got some supernatural stuff, some urban fantasy, some biblical stuff.
Yep. A lot of
occult
stuff from Revelation in the Bible. There's Greek mythology weaved into that.
Yeah.
There is extra biblical or pseudo canonical elements tied into it, like the Book of Enoch. I said occult, right?
Yeah.
There's like Masonic elements woven into it.
Yeah.
And so there's all types of things that play together to kind of create this world. And so what I discovered this past week, and it's been out for like three or 4 months.
Yeah.
And I wrote it in February, March of this year, of 2020. And I had gone to New York with my wife. We were there for about 4 or 5 days. It was kind of a research trip for me personally. I took her there for her birthday, but while we were there, I was kind of like writing down names of streets and places. I think I'm going to use this for the book. I think I'm going to use that for the book.
And you already had the idea for the book.
I already had the idea for the story. I knew I wanted it set in New York. I knew the main character's name. It was going to be Henry Half Moon. So that was already done. We went to New York, had a great time. We came back, and of course, New York got shut down.
Yeah, got it under the wire.
But I wrote out the story, got the cover, and published it. And then just last week, my mom, was talking to my mom, and she's kind enough to listen to the audiobook version, and she's really enjoying it, which I'm super happy about, because I didn't know my mom's gonna like my paranormal urban fantasy book.
Right. Yeah.
But she really got into it. She thought it was great.
Well, because we come from a very even your mom and our dad, and like both of our families all come from a very conservative Christian, very middle of the road Bible Belt kind of
very much
environment.
Very much so. And this is not right down the middle of the lane of like
this is not
evangelical
Narnia.
No, this is not evangelical Christianity. Right.
It's got some teeth to it.
It's fringe. Is what it is. Yeah. It's fringe. I tie elements from like a lot of different faith backgrounds and kind of weave them all into this story. So I wasn't sure if my mom would enjoy it, but she's loving it, which is great, which is really relieving to me. But so she's in the middle of listening to it, and she also was listening to. She had watched a talk given by, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but a guy who kind of a preacher, prophet type guy.
Kind of professor, lecturer.
Yeah, he gives a lot of lectures. He's written books, and he's all about prophecy, end times prophecy, biblical prophecy. And she's watching one of his YouTube videos during the same time that she's listening to my book. And she says, Nick, you got to listen to this guy's video. He says something about Henry Half Moon. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Yeah, no. Surely you're confused. Yeah. Surely you're confused. No, it has to do with like New York. And he said Henry Half Moon or Henry on the Half Moon or something like that. I'll send you the video. I'm like, yeah, sure. All right, whatever. Kind of weird. I'm thinking like, is some bonehead evangelical like stealing? Like, did he get? Is he the one person that bought my book and he's stealing it? Right. Like the very first person to buy it is stealing it. And so I listened to the video, and he's talking about the history of New York and Manhattan, and how it was founded by, or originally mapped out in the early 1600s by Henry Hudson. And
And you're like, okay, yeah, Hudson River, I get
Manhattan.
And this is all news to you.
Yeah, I had no idea. I have no idea.
Who does research on Manhattan?
It's not,
I mean, aside from this televangelist guy.
The Dutch founding of, New York or Manhattan is not like my historic.
Yeah, it's not covered in the homeschool curriculum.
No, not really. It's whatever. But I didn't even know Hudson was named after a guy. To be honest with you, I had no idea. Never cared. But Henry Hudson founded the island of Manhattan for the Dutch.
It's like the laziest Native American name ever.
Yeah. So Henry Hudson, Manhattan. He's the first to create a map of the area. And this guy that I'm listening to on the YouTube video says, and he was sailing on a ship called the Half Moon.
Yeah.
And so,
you're like, what?
Oh,
okay,
now I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is really weird. So much coincidence. So I'm like, maybe I didn't hear that right. So I went back and listened a couple more times. I'm like, man, that's so bizarre. His name was Henry Hudson. He was sailing on a ship called the Half Moon. He founded Manhattan.
Yeah.
Like, this is really weird. So I did my own research, and I'll be darned.
All true.
All true.
Yeah.
Henry Hudson on a ship called the Half Moon sailed up what is now the Hudson River, founded Manhattan Island. And I'm discovering this 10 months after I wrote the story about a boy named Henry Half Moon.
No, okay.
Who has this experience in Manhattan.
Did you save like all of your original notes and files and everything for Henry Half Moon?
Yeah.
Like with the original dates that they were saved?
I probably have them somewhere. Yeah, I probably have them somewhere.
So that'll come in handy at some point
because it was almost a year ago that I started telling you about the idea.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it was just before we were going to go on that trip to New York.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
So, but at the time, it wasn't called. A year ago, I wasn't. It wasn't Henry Half Moon. That wasn't the name of the book or the character. It was actually. It was actually Harry Half Moon. Had a nice ring to it.
It does.
And then I realized
another coincidence.
It's kind of not a wisely chosen name.
Right, yeah. It's a little used at this point. A little well-worn.
You got a Harry Half Moon hanging out.
Right.
And I was
that's a kid with issues coming out of high
Harry.
school.
Let's go with Henry. I thought it had a nice ring. Henry Half Moon still had a nice ring to it.
We avoid the J.K. Rowling overlap.
Right. And still have the alliteration.
Yeah.
In the title. And it just sounded cool. Henry Half Moon, no problem.
Well, that sounds like a normal name because like you say, there's no way a child is out there named Harry Half Moon who gets through
who hasn't put the
middle school, right? Who hasn't put the gun in his mouth.
Sorry, I did again.
Yeah. That's, honestly, because kids know the weakness and they'll go right for it, so.
It blew my mind. It blew my mind. It actually, and I've said this before, but it feels like I tapped in some sort of stream of consciousness, if you want to call it that. Had no idea what I was doing or writing or creating. I had never heard any of that before.
Yeah.
And after the fact, you discover this really unsettling coincidence.
Yeah.
About what you've created and written and how it's already been stamped in history. Obscure history, because who knows and who cares?
But that's what makes it cool, is that like it's that esoteric sort of occult kind of aspect that makes it's not something that you like. I don't think it was probably a question on who wants to be a millionaire at some point. What was the name of the boat that Henry Hudson, the founder of Manhattan, it just.
Well, we know now. By God, we know now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, now we know. One of the cool things about those experiences, though, because they are so rare, like, do you think that makes you feel more validated in what you do? Because I know one conversation that we had a while ago that was really good was talking about like you want your work to be sort of logos driven, to be 100%. You want the sum to be greater, or you want the whole to be greater than the sum of your parts. You want it to aim for something more than just what this thing, this indulgent sort of thing. And then you have an experience like that happen,
Yeah, it is. I would say.
Because it's the first book you didn't write for your kids.
Right. It's not a kid's book. I didn't write it for my kids. And so it was just kind of a passion project, tying in all the weird, arcane things that interest me that I think make a good story.
Yeah.
And I think on a spiritual level, it was very validating, and it makes me wonder, like, wow, was there something else at play way beyond me?
Yeah.
Directing maybe some of this.
Well, funny how
Maybe.
like potentially.
Could be.
Yeah.
I believe in the supernatural, so I
That is
think that
kinda
there
like-
is something else there beyond coincidence. I do.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that really is kind of how God works. You know, like God has, the God of the Bible. You know, Jesus. Let's be clear.
Let's just
put
it out there.
Yeah, Christian God, the real God. But like that is kind of how it works. Is that you'll do anything, just this random thing that you may not even give it a second thought, and then God comes in on the back end later down the road, and because you did it, either in His will or obediently or honestly or authentically, in Logos, then it's like on the back end you see like this whole multi-dimensional thing unfold because of it, and little moments like that I think really validate.
It did for me, and I don't know what's going to happen or what's going to come of it, but I'm praying all the time that I feel like, okay, not only do I enjoy writing this, I feel like maybe it has some kind of purpose.
Yeah.
And
right. It validates the effort that you put in.
Yeah.
And it makes you think that you have done something that does have purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's ultimately, as a writer, like that's the difference between, I think, a writer and a hack. Is that like a hack just does something because they know they can make a paycheck off of it.
Yeah.
And there's no passion, there's no, sweat equity, there's no, blood in the game, Sorry, Lily just came back from a walk, and she is, of course, the true star of all of my products, at least. That's why I put her on the cover. And so
she wasn't so fat I could lift her up here, but since I can't,
oh yeah, there she is.
That's her. She just walked under our legs at the table. She's a doll.
We're using it currently, but I got a bunch of Lily pictures that always end up making like the author photos, and they're probably the best parts of the book, to be honest with you. I use them as the main selling point.
Wow.
Maybe we should just make Lily the cover of all the books.
Maybe.
Like just forego this whole.
Maybe she should write a series about Lily.
Yeah. Or just do a YouTube series about Lily. Like if we just recorded her and did a bunch of overdubs, just a bunch of voiceover work. Yeah, that'd be the most popular thing we'd ever do. Everybody loves Lily.
It's not beneath us.
To
exploit
the dog,
the people and animals that we love.
Well,
turn a dollar.
We've been telling you that's right. Yeah, I do it for my dog, and Nick does it with his children. Just get out there and just bang your little cymbals. I mean, we've been telling Lily for years, like, why don't you get a job? Why don't you start like reimbursing us for all that you don't snuggle with us anymore?
She's trained you. She doesn't have to.
Yeah, she's trained us. Yeah, she's suckered us right in, man. Just laser beams, just tractor beam. But yeah, so Nick does the same thing with his kids, though. It's great. And they're good. They're good at it. It's really
They enjoy it. We make videos together, and they come up with ideas. And
how many have you made so far?
Them. Videos?
Yeah,
just one. Well,
you published one?
Well, we have a couple of different videos we did just to promote select books. Maybe 4 or 5 different videos, but we're starting. We have Hacker Jack coming out.
Yeah.
Which instead of the middle grade fantasy, kind of jumping over to middle grade sci-fi.
Yeah.
And so we're making a series of fun videos that my kids star in to promote that book. And they're super excited about it because the book, a lot of it came from their minds and their ideas.
Yeah.
And so they have buy-in and they're doing a lot of that. I'm doing the work. Don't get me wrong. I'm doing the work, but they want to be YouTube famous and I just want to sell books. So
it's a perfect relationship.
It is a great partnership, my kids, and they're great.
It'd be funny.
Super
like
smart.
I have this great mental image of like the Tiki Niki Lounge just being this like child labor writer's sweatshop.
Absolutely. When it's your own kid, it's not child labor.
Yeah.
It's called parenting. Good
right,
parenting.
Yeah. It's just called
teaching
good child rearing.
Responsibility and discipline and self-reliance. But when it's someone else's kid,
all of a sudden, there are laws,
labor laws,
whatever. Yeah. make the Industrial Revolution great again. Look, God gave you 10 fingers or 8 fingers and 2 thumbs, depending on how persnickety you are. Do you need all? I mean, what's a couple of industrial accidents is all I'm saying.
And this is YouTube. This is like,
there
are no accidents. It's a hazard-free environment.
Well, and it's child exploitation central, so, come on.
Except with the possible exception of me making them eat really disgusting things, which could have a number of different results. But we're going to do it.
Yeah.
We are going to do it.
That would be a fun segment.
It is, and we've already named it. It's called Don't Eat That. I kid you not. We've already decided that's going to be one of the segments we do.
You almost could do like a, and this is all in your Travelers League YouTube
on
channel.
the Travelers League. Yeah, Travelers League YouTube channel.
It'd be funny if you had like a segment where it was, instead of like maybe a Don't Eat That, you had a competition for who could eat the food that, like, Eva May probably has the food that she hates, and Christian has the food that he hates, and then you put like $5 down on the table, and you'd be like the first one to finish eating the food you hate.
The cube of Limburger cheese,
gets $5.
Get some sun-kissed tuna and a fork.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it. Maybe get
it.
some video of us going to the store and actually deciding which gross foods we're actually gonna take home and try.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Hacker Jack is I've been trying to think about like how to classify Hacker Jack, and it is sci-fi, but it's like hackers meet Spy Kids.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. With like a little bit of like Tron, I think, mixed in.
Hackers
right?
meets
The Matrix kind of.
Yeah, like Jumanji.
Oh,
Tron,
yeah.
They actually get trapped in the video game.
Yeah.
And so there's video game, there's coding, there's spying, there's like all kinds of action, Halo style action, ninja style action.
Or like
there's political intrigue.
Yeah.
Middle grade political intrigue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a political primer for 10-year-olds.
The president may or may not be in this book.
May or may not have orange hair
under a pseudonym.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I guess it's really more like Ready Player One kind of in that regard of like just free form generating computer imagery kind of, it's fun too, because like you can do anything with that. It's a trope at this point, but it's a well-worn, like tropes are tropes. Here's the big question: like, are tropes cliche and hackneyed and therefore should be jettisoned?
No.
Or are tropes archetypal and valid because of how just intrinsic, like in the vein of psychology that they
tropes
what I mean?
Tropes validate the genre in a lot of cases, and a lot of readers of the genre, fans of a genre, expect certain things to be consistent.
That's true.
They need certain things need to resonate with them. You don't have to have a wizard and a dwarf and an elf in every fantasy story, but those are tropes that are consistent, and if you introduce those in some way or another, it's going to resonate with people who are true to the genre. But you don't want to overdo it, because after a while they all start looking there's no originality around any of that.
That's true. Yeah. Well, and I think that's why like A Song of Ice and Fire took off the way it did. And I remember you giving me those books back in like 99 or 2000, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And that is like what made that special. And really in the same way, it's what made Lord of the Rings special, like in that same genre, because Lord of the Rings, it conglomerated, it didn't homogenize, but it conglomerated all of these disparate mythological elements into a cohesive framework, which was something nobody else had ever done.
It's really the first.
In that same, sort of Joseph Campbell archetypal Gilgamesh myth kind of hero's journey, sort of, bad guy, good guy, struggle, Star Wars kind of thing. And then Song of Ice and Fire came along and turned that on its head and said, well, what if it was more like War of the Roses, where there are very few true good guys and very few true bad guys, and everybody had somewhat legitimate motivations. And that's, that's got its place too. Really, I think even more interesting than Song of Ice and Fire is the Chronicles of the Black Company,
You've talked about that.
By Glenn Cook. That's a cool series because that's a series that was doing that whole Song of Ice and Fire thing. It's low fantasy, or maybe dark. No, it's not low fantasy. I think it's dark fantasy. It's about a mercenary company who called the Black Company, who are in the employ of the evil, like, queen sorceress of the realm, and she's trying to suppress a rebellion. And the Black Company are heroes, or anti-heroes, really, are just they're a legion or a regiment of mercenaries who are employed by her. They're just hired by her to help put down this rebellion, and it's really cool. Like it influenced a lot of stuff that I liked that was pretty rare. People like some early Bungie games, Myth, The Fallen Lords. That's a big one. Some other writers who I'm friends with have been pretty influenced by the Black Company. But that's sort of like how you can get away with, and all those characters are likable, by the way, even though they're still technically bad guys.
Yep.
You know, it'd be like if you wrote a book about like the fighting 501st, the Stormtrooper Legion. You know, it's like, yeah, they're Stormtroopers, but they're still cool. You know, they're still good guys. TIE Fighter did that.
Yep.
You know, TIE Fighter was
That's
a really
awesome.
good example. Yeah,
Great
TIE
game.
Fighter was killer.
Great game.
Like, and they made no bones about it. Like, even the Black Company still does this thing where at some point they kind of become the good guys, you know, in their own way. But what was cool about TIE Fighter is like they just totally flipped the script and said, no, what if the Rebel Alliance was just a bunch of terrorists? you know, what if they're just a bunch of awful, chaotic terrorists who are just trying to destabilize the region, and you really are like the benevolent enforcement arm,
trying to keep peace,
just trying to keep peace and law and order in the galaxy, you know, and it pulled it off remarkably well. It was really cool. So I don't know, you can get away with, you know, tropes hit on archetypes work, and that's like the traditionalist mindset.
Well, and the great thing about the middle grade genre, you know, ages 8 to 12 roughly, is that you can lean pretty heavy on the tropes, and you're introducing them to the genre. So it's not a cliche.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
8 to 12-year-olds.
With the good touchstones.
Yeah. So, you know, when they read about a dwarf and a wizard and their conversation, and they start learning about these tropes, they're going to recognize them later on when they read. If they fall into being a fan of the genre, you can be the one to introduce them to the genre.
That's cool. That's I never thought about that.
Because right now, if you're 8 to 12 years old and you try to read Tolkien, or even C.S. Lewis, it's difficult now for an 8 to 12-year-old to read that language the way it was written and get into it. It's a little more difficult than it was when I was a kid, and certainly now. But and earlier is probably easier too. The farther away you get from the style of writing and communication, the harder it is to read it. So that's the great thing about this age group in particular. They can read, they're looking to read, they can be voracious readers, and you can introduce them to their next favorite genre that they could follow for the rest of their lives. And you introduce them to all those tropes. You know?
That's true. Well, and I remember, God, like I tried reading Lord of the Rings when I was 14, 15, and I couldn't do it, man. I just couldn't.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Prose. Tolkien was really good at world building, but like I can't stand his prose, man. It's awful. You know? It's not for everybody. Some people read it and they love it. Some people love Mark Twain, or no, some people love Charles Dickens.
I'll never understand
Charles Dickens either. But
I couldn't follow. I couldn't follow Tolkien, like the prose. I just couldn't stay with it until I was into my 20s. Yeah,
I think you kind of have to. You either have to grow up loving that, or you have to have an appreciation for that like Arthurian Middle Ages motif. You know, like you have to be with it on a level other than just the prose in order to deal with it.
Or just buy the audiobook for your kids.
Or buy the audiobook.
Because they're not going to read it for themselves. They're going to get bored. It's too hard. You're going to get frustrated trying to pronounce everything. You know, just let them read it, fall asleep to it, and they'll remember what they remember.
Isn't it funny how you can get away with that in Star Wars, but like Lord of the Rings, it's just like a headache?
Yeah, it's so true.
You know,
that's so true.
Speaking of Star Wars, have you seen The Mandalorian?
Not yet.
No,
I haven't.
I should have told him to watch The Mandalorian before we did this.
It came out night before last.
Yeah,
and I promised my kids. I'd watch it with them, and we haven't had a chance because of the Halloween party yesterday. We were getting ready for that.
Yeah. It's been a busy weekend.
Yeah, it's been super busy. So we haven't had a chance, but that might be them calling me.
Yeah, it's
if you hear my phone ringing, apologies. Next video, because we're 30 minutes into this. Next video, we need to talk about our trip.
Yeah,
and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. Look at that. Turn around there. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, squatch.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those delts. You think about something that's like just watching you, just creepily just watching you.
Just going along the bottom of the screen. Oh yeah.
There we go.
Thanks. Now I'm gonna have nightmares.
That's what I should have done.
Appreciate that.
It's like the end of Harry and the Hendersons, when like he goes back into the woods with his family,
and they just all come out of nowhere.
Come out of the woods and everything. Like that traumatized me as a child.
Yeah,
I've been horrified of Bigfoot ever since then. So yeah, the Bigfoot. What Expedition Bigfoot is that what it's called?
Yep.
In Blue Ridge.
Yep. Cherry Log, Georgia.
Cherry Log, Georgia. Expedition Bigfoot. Super cool. We Nick and Christian and I went on like a pilgrimage of sorts to Expedition Bigfoot, and man, it's awesome. It was a lot of fun. Yep. So yeah, we'll have to talk about that because I think the next creative projects that you're working on, and I guess I'm working on too, both are
have that element.
Squatch centric.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's gonna be awesome.
So yeah. All right. Cool. Well, Nick's got to check his phone, and I probably have to do something to make Lily happy. So we're gonna go. But where can Amazon for all of your books?
Yeah, Amazon. Nick Goss on Amazon, or Nick Goss Writes on Facebook.
And then Fringe Mythology on Facebook.
Fringe Mythology.
You run that. And then,
that's the young adult. Yep.
So Travelers League YouTube channel.
Yep, Travelers League YouTube channel. That's me and my kids producing the books. Just Travelers League. Don't worry about an apostrophe. Just Travelers League.
Oh yeah.
And you'll find us.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
All right.
Look for Jonathan. This goofy mug.
Yeah, that's right. Look for that. That's all you need. And Nick continues to look like he just came back from a duck hunt. But,
yep. I'm going for the Marty McFly this year.
Yeah, it's cold. So whatever.
Yeah.
Gotta protect these.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Very good.